She's treated you like dirt from the very beginning. That's the relationship you have with her. And that's the reason I'm angry. That's the reason you never tried to have really good relationship with these other people. Man, just the knife in the kidneys over all these years. And the sacrifices that I made to love you, wasted.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Thursday, February 23rd, 2023, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. So today I have a video for you, and this is actually an article that was just published by Sarcasm, and it is in relation to a new video that was published by Gwendlyn Brown on her Patreon. I want to be clear that I haven't been nor seen this video, and I'm not a subscriber to her Patreon. So I can't I can't provide you actually a clip of the video. It should be uploaded to her YouTube channel in the next couple days, but Sarcasm is reporting on something that she said in her recent video about her father, Kody, that I think is pretty important to discuss. And I thought, well, let's just talk about it here. And once she publishes to YouTube, I can show you physically what she says. But she has some information that she's providing about her childhood, and this is coming after her watching the episode where Kody yells at Christine about moving. So if you had watched season 17, you know that episode 10, Kody screams at Christine. He gets really upset after Robin starts crying about a relationship with Christine and Christine being very iffy about it. And then he gets up and yells and screams at her about all the sacrifices he made. And he starts accusing Christine of all these horrible things, like talking badly about people, being a horrible sister wife. And then it's the knife in the kidneys. But it was his posture and it was his just aggressive stances that made fans really upset with this specific episode. And apparently, I told you in the last video I did about Gwendlyn that I was concerned about her moving forward because the rest of the season is his behavior just gets worse and worse and worse. And I was worried for her in that, I was worried that she would see the way that her dad was acting. I didn't really even consider the fact that she's probably seen this before and maybe it would be triggering to her. But apparently this video, she had a lot to say about her dad and what he did to her as a kid and how the behavior that he's exhibiting to fans is just literally the man that she has known for years, and what the public is finally seeing it. And she has said numerous times that her dad is way worse off camera, and she's going into detail about that. So let's dive into today's topic of Gwendlyn Brown has some huge accusations against Kody in her latest video, and let's dive into it. And I also, just before we dive into that, wanted to remind you that I posted a picture in my community tab of a device that a former member of John MacArthur's church told me that the parenting class taught parents how to use for their church discipline. And it's actually made out of a conveyor belt. So it's pretty concerning that I post this. This is from John MacArthur's church, and now we're going to talk about stuff that's happening in the Mormon, FLDS, fundamentalist, AUB. So it's a huge problem in these very conservative sects of specific churches where they really do take child discipline way too far. So let's dive into today's topic. Before we do, can you please do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up? Also, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you've not yet subscribed. Turn your notifications on by clicking on the bell so you know when I go live and new content loads. And also make sure to leave a comment if you have something to say and share this video with your friends. Today's videos will be all voiceovers simply because I'm so tired. I had a little boy up all night sick with a sinus infection. So this is the article that was published by Starcasm, and it says that Gwendlyn Brown says that her dad, Kody, that he physically abused her and left bruises. I was going to try to like trigger that and say a different word, but I just want to say it for what it is. And the face that they have for her for the photograph, she looks pretty shocked. And I actually I feel sad for the kids. And I actually feel a little bit frustrated about the way that this show has really glamorized polygamy for years and actually led to the decriminalization of this practice, knowing full well that this is who they are. And I think you're going to be, probably a lot of you that watch will not be shocked, and a lot of you that have gone through similar things in your if you're a fundamentalist, whether it's Christian, Mormon, polygamist, just because I just want to put this caution out there that it might trigger you. So basically what the article says is that Kody is more harsh towards his family off screen than he is on screen. And it was at the end of the video, so you know when she's watching the episodes, she does her Q&As. And apparently one of the people on that Q&A asked about, you know, the way that he's acting on camera and like how he's been screaming and yelling. And Gwendlyn said that this is like something that he has kept hidden from cameras for a long time. And now the audience is finally seeing how he treats the family in real life. And she even reiterated, though, it's still worse off camera. So she says, this is him. He's never shown you this. I mean, I think he's shown some of it, but this past season was horrible. She said that he has screamed at her the exact same way he screamed at Christine. And this new on-screen behavior is not unusual for Kody. He's apparently been acting like this off camera for a while and going back into her childhood. So she is in her 20s. She's in college. She's engaged. She's getting married this summer. And if you remember last week, her fiance, Beatrice, made a comment that she didn't appreciate that the way Kody spoke to Gwendlyn, and felt like he was very disrespectful and didn't know how to behave respectfully to his family. So I feel like this kind of matches what Beatrice has been seeing. I don't think anyone should be surprised by that. I also have a response from a former polygamist that's an advocate for women that come out of the FLDS. She's a former member of the FLDS, and I'm going to share with you what she had to say. But she was asked whether or not if Kody has ever physically abused anyone in the family. And Gwendlyn said yes. And then she also specified that what she believes is our spanking is not spanking. She believes spanking is physical abuse. And she also believes that there's other ways to discipline a child, won't leave them emotionally scarred. And I just want to remind everyone that there is so much evidence out there that this is not a reasonable way to manage a child as far as for discipline. It's ineffective. It doesn't work. Nearly every child advocacy outlet, doctors, psychologists, school boards, I mean, the ACLU, United Nations, everyone is basically come out and said corporal punishment doesn't work. So she says that when he used this form of punishment for the kids, he went really far. So she said, I remember personally being bruised a few times when my dad would spank me. She also said that he would sometimes punish her by throwing her into the air. I'm trying to imagine what that would look like, of being punished by being thrown into the air. Like, are you being thrown into the air, into the wall? Or is he like throwing a kid up in the air, you know, when they're little and holding them? But the fact that he left bruises is concerning, because that would be considered, under the law in nearly every single state, grounds for charges criminally. But obviously that wasn't reported to the police, because when they were investigated in 2010 by the police in Lehigh, they found no evidence of this. So a lot of people had speculated that they felt like Kody and the wives left Utah because they were afraid of potential charges. At the time of the investigation, they had said that they hadn't found anything yet that would warrant them being charged criminally, whether it was like fraud, welfare fraud, financial crimes that typically go on with polygamy, or the DV that happens as a result of it. But the investigation at that point was ongoing, and then they left the state. So my thought is like, were they running away to sort of get ahead of something? Did they think, was there a possibility that they were looking into like credit card fraud or welfare fraud or bankruptcy fraud? Because all of them at that point had declared bankruptcy, and Christine had declared bankruptcy in 2009 only. Knowing that he used this form of punishment and leaving a bruise, that would be grounds for a charge like that. And so if any of the kids were to been interviewed, it would have been like a more thorough investigation, and they would have actually pulled kids in and talked to them through CPS. Maybe they would have found out these types of details about them. But I will say that this doesn't surprise me at all that he would use this form of punishment, just because it's so standard in the FLDS, the AUB, fundamentalism in general. They're pretty wicked to kids. I just wanted to point out something that Brenda Nicholson, who is a amazing woman, and if you're not on my Facebook or following me on Facebook, she is a former member of the FLDS, and truly just such an inspiring woman to me, because she and her husband were not polygamous, but they grew up in the FLDS, and her kids had been picked to go to the ranch out in Texas. And during that period of time, when Warren Jeffs, whether or not certain kids were going to go there, it meant that if a child was picked for this, they were going to be separated from their parents. And Brenda and her husband were absolutely shell-shocked by that and totally heartbroken. And so they actually escaped the FLDS before they could take their kids. Basically what Warren was doing was he was just saying, your child has been picked by the United Order and they're going to go because they're the elect and the elite. And he would take some kids and not other kids, and it would basically destroy families. And so Brenda and her husband, they left in the middle of the night. They escaped, and ever since her escape, she has been a fierce advocate for women and children that leave this system. So she said, sad but not surprising, what has been playing out on the screen this past season is just the reality of their lives seeping out in public. This is the reality of polygamy that I both lived and witnessed all around me. This is why I am firmly against it. It is inherently harmful, period. Yet Kody and his wives came out in support of decriminalization, telling lies the entire time, and they knew it. You can only hide for so long. I've had a lot of conversations with Brenda in the last several months about the show and her feelings, and whether or not, she views the wives as complicit to everything, because they knew what Kody was. They knew what was happening in their family, and they still portrayed themselves as this perfect, happy-go-lucky family that had no problems. And it's not uncommon for women in these situations to feel like they have to do whatever their headship, their priesthood says. But at a certain point, they leave their church and they're not in their church anymore. And so they have the ability to leave if they want to. And they just kept perpetuating this false reality. This is the same family that willingly had Kyle Henderson on their show several years ago when they were out at Coyote Pass. Kyle was at the time facing criminal charges for DV related to his wife. He had turned all of the kids against his wife, made them testify against her, and he was charged with witness intimidation. Kody Brown was going to testify for Kyle because Kristen Decker, a advocate for women and children, obviously you know who Kristen is, was going to be an expert witness for Kyle's ex-wife, Nicole, basically testifying to the rules of the culture and all the inherent patriarchy that leads to everything that they saw in the case with her. Well, ultimately, Kyle ended up settling. He took a plea deal, slap on the wrist. Kody never had to testify. But he was like in the middle of all of that when he was on the show. And they described Nicole as just like this woman that just got unruly and left, when that wasn't even the truth. Like, Kyle literally physically assaulted her, leaving her battered. And he had done that for years. And if you haven't watched any of her interviews, please do. They are on YouTube. Her name was Nicole Henderson. Her dad was a senator in the state of Utah. He actually worked to get this law criminalized and make like it a felony because of what Kyle did to Nicole. And Kody and the wives worked to dismantle that law. They took away the law that would have protected Nicole and other women in this culture, and they made it an infraction through their advocacy and the show. So a lot of advocates find the show harmful because it's hurting women and children. So that's sort of a side note to help you understand sort of what the advocates in polygamy will say. But I will say this, that it's not surprising to me that this is what is happening in this family. What makes me feel, I think, sad for the kids is that for years they have probably known this, and a lot of them have said that they don't watch the show. And part of me wonders if they don't watch the show because Kody is telling them not to watch the show, right? So if they are ignorant to the show and what is happening on the show, it's easier for them to sit in a place where they're not going to have anger towards their parents. But if they actually watch the show like Gwendlyn is doing, and even like McKelty has done by watching a few of the episodes, and they actually see the behavior of not only their dad, but also the wives, I think it would make them feel differently about their parents. The wives were in a really tricky situation because they obviously knew who Kody was. They were covering for Kody. They were doing their keep sweet, pray and obey on the show. But at the end of the day, they also were enabling it by continuing on with the show, which is why I have said it's a little problematic for Christine because she's left Kody, but she's going to stay on the show knowing who Kody is, okay? Knowing the kind of guy that he is, knowing the type of DV she's experienced and her kids have experienced at the hands of Kody, and also knowing that her kids have been hurt by other sister wives. And they still stay on the show because it's a moneymaker for them. And so you go, okay, you've left, but are you really leaving because you are still on the show? I think it would be healthier, and this is just my opinion, and other advocates that I've talked to, specifically Kristen Decker, believe that Christine would be best to get off this show, find something else, maybe get a spinoff where it's life after polygamy, where she's not having to be around Kody all the time, not having to help his pocketbook, because anything that they do for this show will just help enrich Kody and further his agenda, whatever that is. So back to Gwendlyn, I feel really sad that this is like probably very triggering to her. And it took a lot of bravery for her to share that about her dad. And I just want to put this out there to any child that has grown up in fundamentalism or grew up in a strict religious home that had a spare the rod, spoil the child attitude. I'm just going to say this from my heart. You didn't deserve it. It's a horrible way. It's a horribly confusing way to grow up with a parent that believes like that. I grew up like that. So I just want you to know that you didn't deserve it. I'm so sorry it happened to you. I'm sorry that it happened to Gwendlyn, but I'm going to continue to talk about these things on this channel with every single sector of religion that does this to kids. And I hope at some point fans wake up to the realization that it's not just Kody, but this whole system and this whole show that has lied to you. And even though the women are victims in the sense to Kody, they are also indirectly victimizing their kids by staying on a show even after leaving Kody. I hope for the well-being of all of the wives that have left, that they find something outside of Kody, that they can move away from this ugly, horrible system that they found themselves in and find peace and find happiness and not be on a show with Kody Brown anymore, because it's I mean, the more we get into this, the more we're going to expose what polygamy is. But we can't change what they did in the criminal. Like, we can't change the law that they passed, making it an infraction. They've already done that. So did they really help polygamists, or did they protect themselves? And by them, I mean Kody and his polygamous friends. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Bye, guys.